Hey everybody, it's Jason Blah here, and you guys know what time it is. Time to talk about current events in the online fitness community, and apparently Larry Wheels has bench pressed 675 pounds as a gym lift. Damn. Let me go ahead and put on my plus 5 hat of speechcraft, lovingly called my plus 5 hat of autism by many of you, and let's talk about this. All right, there's a lot of things that needs to be said about this lift. And I want to give credit where credit is due and just state up front before I say anything that could be perceived as critical, that is a strong lift, right? It's not meat legal, but it's strong. Because anybody who can bench press, I don't care what reps or cheating or anything else that you do, I don't care how much gear you put into your body, when you start talking about 600 plus pounds on the bar, on a bench, that's a lot. That is ridiculously strong. That's insanely strong. And again, notice that I even gave those qualifiers. Even if there's some stuff in there that would let you lift more weight than you'd really be able to lift in the meet, even if you're using unlimited amounts of drugs, even if you're over 300 pounds, when you start talking about a 600 pound or higher bench press, that is insane. And anyone who's ever really benched heavy knows what I'm talking about. A lot of guys are like, well, I got up to this and I could go further. And some of you guys who are a little bit weaker bench, you don't understand. You don't understand how hard it is to add 100 pounds onto your bench once you've reached a certain threshold. Once you become an intermediate lifter or higher, adding another 100 pounds to your bench is like a lifetime goal type stuff. Let me put it to you guys this way. A lot of you guys who hit a certain bench natural still don't add another 100 pounds to your bench even after multiple steroid cycles. So guys are like, well, I've got to 300. I mean, how hard is 600 compared to that? It's insane. It's insanely different. It's not just 2 or 3 levels above. It's insane. And he hit 675. So I do want to just state up front that is insanely strong. I don't know what he's going to be able to do in comp again coming up. It may not be 675, but it's going to be ridiculously strong. Like any way you break it down, I think he's going to be closing in on a world record on the bench press. Again, that's all you can say about that. And I know some people are going to say, okay, so what are you going to say that's critical? And who are you to judge? Well, who am I to judge? I'm actually a certified meat judge. That's who I am to judge. I have hit the red button on world records. Let me state that again. I have been at some meets where people went to hit records, whether it was a national record, world records on different lifts, and I have actually red lighted a couple of world record attempts, like hit the button and no lifted people. So I am the sort of person who at a competition is going to certify that lift or not. And that's fair, right? That's not being a hater. Although, some coaches and lifters feel that all powerlifting judges are haters because, we're there judging their lifts, right? But the truth is, yes, I am certified and I've only refed one international meet. I've only refereed one international meet, but it was 16-hour long day refing. So, for 16 hours, I was judging something like 150 lifters that day. All of their lifts. I'm talking their squat, bench, deadlift, all attempts. So, I have done international meets. I've done at least one really, really big meet like that as a referee, holding that button, saying whether it's good or not. So what's the issue there? And this is why this matters. It matters because that would be a world record lift. Like as it stands right now, the reason you've got to start being critical at that point is not saying it's not insanely strong, because it is. Like I can't cheat 600 plus pounds up, right? Even breaking the rules in a powerlifting meet, even using a little bit of equipment, outside equipment to help me lift, I can't do 600 plus pounds, and I will never do 600 plus pounds. It's not going to happen ever in my lifetime. So I do want to give credit and say that is strong. But let's come over and talk about when people will say, well, what do you mean that wouldn't count in comp? Well, this is where we get into education. All sports have rules. So when you hear that someone benched X amount of weight or it's a record or whatever, we're talking about in the rules. We're talking about under a structured environment. And I don't just mean calibrated plates. I don't just mean wearing a singlet. As far as things go, a couple of things right up front. For a raw bench press, a non-equipped bench press, you can't have external objects that help you lift more weight. Those wraps around the elbows, that's not raw. All right, now, People can argue, well, how much weight do you think it adds? I don't know. And that's the problem. That's why we can't quantify it. That's why I can't look at that bench press and say how much can he bench and meet legal conditions, because I don't know how much those elbow wraps add. We could speculate all day long. We probably won't get it right. If 10 of us try to guess, only one of us will get it right. If that, we might all get it wrong. I don't know, 5 pounds, 30 pounds, 40 pounds, I don't know. Now, they're obviously not giving him 75 or 80 or anything crazy, but those elbow wraps are going to give something. They're going to give something, particularly when he bounces the way he does out of the bottom, because again, they're compressed. You're going to get a little bit of a stretchy reflex out of that. It's going to compress. It's going to help you slingshot it. It's going to add a little bit. And again, why does that matter? Well, when you're hitting a world record by only 10 pounds or 15 pounds, a little bit matters, doesn't it? Because you're talking about the difference between, would that lift make him number 2 in the world or number 1 in the world in his class? So even though it might sound really tit for tat at that point, it matters. When you're talking about just barely inching out a world record, it matters, right? It matters a lot. Just like, with any other sport, some guy uses a non-regulated basketball and hits some whatever free throw record. Well, is the basketball lighter than normal? Is it not regulation? It starts to matter at the world level, guys. It does when you talk about records. So those elbow sleeves, it's adding some bounce off the chest. There's no, even under some of the most liberal, loosest pause calls from referees, that's not going to count. That's not going to count. And then his ass came off the bench. That booty came off the bench. And I could tell you that having watched meets and seen what happens as far as actually watching from the side and holding the buzzer to hit a white or a red on people on if their butt came off the bench. I can tell you even at that angle that butt came off the bench. All right, that's a rule violation. I helped him lock it out. So it really matters at this point because you're talking about, I want to say, I think for his class, because I think he's weighing about 255 right now. Man, I mean, I do believe the record's around 650, right? And if he could cut down to the 242 and make weight, it's even lower. And I want to say, I believe that would almost be a world record even in the next couple weight classes up, right? Yeah, because that would be the 275. You go to the 308 for a full meet, and Larry does full power. He's not a bench specialist, right? He's not a bench specialist. He does full power. So you're talking about walking into a full meet and doing that. I want to say, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, I believe that's a small record even for the 308 weight class. Not the super heavy, which is over 308, but that next weight class up, because I'm not sure what Larry's weighing. I know he was at 255. I'm not sure what he's weighing, but I'm pretty sure he's less than 308. So if he's less than 308, again, that's another class that you're looking at possibly inching out, just barely inching out a record. If he could pull that off without the wraps, with a pause, but staying on the bench, you're talking about a 5-pound world record in the next weight class up. All right, that's pretty legit. So I'm being tit for tat on that stuff, not just to be a judgmental asshole, not to be a hater, but to say, hey man, when you start breaking world records, these rules start to matter. Like we could say, oh, it doesn't matter for a gym lift, just hanging out with your bros, right? It doesn't. But when your gym lift breaks world records, because that's what that would have done, you need to understand that, guys. When you start breaking world records in the gym, it's time for people to zoom in and say, okay, wait a minute, we need to start. How many pounds are you getting out of this? How many pounds are you getting out of that? Can you do it under meet legal conditions? Because it matters for a world record. And that would be a world record. You guys need to understand that. That's not only a world record for his class, that would be like a 5-pound world record for the next weight class above him. So if he was able to actually do that legitimately, that's crazy. Like when you start getting the ability to break world records in the next weight class above you, that's not just elite, guys. That's ultra elite. That is insane. Absolutely insane. And that kind of shows a lot of what I've said in the past of why I worry about when you see all the blood coming out of his head and the blood squirting out and everything when Larry does stuff. This is why I worry about it, because this is my sport. I love powerlifting. I like powerlifting. It's a passion of mine. Obviously, I mean, when you go get certified to be a international referee and you ref an international meet, you genuinely care about a sport. And you got guys like Larry who have such an insane amount of potential. And I do worry he's going to hurt himself with the drugs at a certain point, and that's a legitimate concern because I don't want to see that happen. I would love for this guy to come in and stay healthy and break some world records. I'd love to see it, but my concern is that I don't think he's going to have the longevity because of some, the signs we're seeing already with his health. And I've said that in the past, and people will say, "Well, you're being a hater." I'm not really not being a hater. I'm actually speaking that out of concern for love of the sport, for love of the athletes who compete in this sport. It's a genuine health concern, right? Because I don't want to see that happen. I don't want to see someone who has that much potential end up crashing and burning. I don't want to see that. And hopefully you guys don't want to see that either. But in any event, that's a damn strong bench press. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.